Hello and welcome to this short video where we're going to take a bit of a closer look into Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. I'm Malcolm Allen, Head of Technology for Inoapps in the UK, and I'm joined today by John Abel, the VP of Cloud and Technology for Oracle, and Andrew Norris, the Head of EMEA for Inoapps. So we're just going to look at it from the customer perspective and some customer experience to date of the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So John, from your perspective, there's a lot of buzz around Oracle Cloud just now. What are you seeing as the main migration paths, and can you just put some context around the infrastructure, platform and software as a service layers as well?
It's a great question because many customers are struggling with where do they start. And I suppose the way I look at it is you need to split the business into two at the moment. There's the modernisation side, which is much about cost reduction. How do I reduce my cost of IT? How do I modernise my applications? And then there's this new world, which is actually not new anymore, called innovation. And actually every disruptive industry is having to drive both in parallel. So Oracle Cloud Infrastructure is beneath both. We can either modernise the applications and lift and shift them into a cloud world, or more importantly, we can work with the cloud native and the developers of the future, specifically in a way that emerging technologies like Dockers and Kubernetes now, and we've actually announced ourselves to be part of the Docker Alliance, which is really important because those cloud natives, that's where they go first.
So moving ahead with and developing the technology around the infrastructure.
Correct.
And Andrew, from your perspective, in the customer base, what are you seeing?
Yeah, certainly within our customer base, absolutely, John's right. We're seeing a lot of customers either decide to dip their toe into cloud infrastructure, maybe go with their test and development environments first, or we're actually seeing the big bang approach and getting them to move into production straight away.
Yeah. So moving forward into the actual rationale for moving to cloud infrastructure, John, from your perspective, what are you seeing as the main reasons why customers are considering this? So
if you look at the three top reasons, there's one obviously which we've talked about, which is reducing cost. Also, a lot of the newer technology, which is cloud by default. So if you look at a lot of the data analytic technology, we've got joint customers that use that first. There's also a lot of the technology that's emerging, like the autonomous technology we announced at Open World. These are really cloud first. So a lot of the customers to actually use that technology have to go to a cloud world. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure is no different because a lot of customers are now seeing that actually the design decision we took very early doors was to create an enterprise cloud infrastructure, which means high availability, DR, and all of those characteristics are there by default, which means when a customer compares that to their on-premise estate, their legacy estate, it matches blow for blow, which gives that safety net and that customer the feeling that actually it is an enterprise cloud. Not every single public cloud vendor has that characteristic by default.
Yeah. And are you seeing a lot of customers take their existing environment and transfer it as is into the infrastructure?
It's a really good question because one of the key things that most customers struggle with is, okay, do I have to buy it before I do it? Do I do it before I buy it? And actually we took a decision to work with customers and do POCs. We do a lot of POCs, proof of concepts with the customers, because basically it allows them to try it, use it, and see, working with partners like yourself, to lift that application up into the cloud and actually show them and give it to them in real, that's something they can actually grab hold of and use it to give themselves a comfort blanket. Because cloud journey is much more about the culture shift rather than the actual technology shift. So that's what we have to work on much more together.
Yeah. And Andrew, from your perspective, are you seeing similar in your customer base? And is there any discussion around the capex, opex type business models that are used?
So certainly with customers that we've implemented, helped move to the cloud with, those customers have done things like proof of concepts first to enable them to see the real benefits of infrastructure as a service before they've actually started to move their live environments. We've also then started to see them move maybe test and development environments first to get their toe in the water with infrastructure as a service, and then they've moved production afterwards. And then that's where they've really started to see some of the benefits of infrastructure as a service, with storage costs being much lower than it is on premise, and the performance of the production environments being hugely improved over what they see on premise.
So, John, from what Andrew's saying there, it sounds like customers want to take a relatively low risk and progressive approach to moving to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Is that a similar experience that you're seeing from the market in Oracle?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's depending where the customer is in their journey. So if you look at it today, one of the customers, joint customers we have, started with analytics. They moved up their reporting into the cloud, and they literally went big bang with that. They didn't actually just stop and do elements of reporting. All of it went up into the cloud. But then it was fair. Their second journey, the same customer, they moved up a POC to do one environment to trial it. So they had like a dual strategy where they felt the risk for that was more internal than external. And all of these elements makes the business case stronger or weaker. And if it's weaker, they start with smaller baby steps to moving into the cloud infrastructure. But we are seeing, because of that unique elements of the high availability DR and the way we built it for the enterprise, once we do the POC, the customer wants to go faster. They don't just want to slow down. You know, they're pushing us, or specifically us as a team, they're pushing us quite hard to drive faster.
So historically, the customers have had concerns around security and the security of cloud, and I think that's been generic across all cloud implementations. Has that discussion moved on now, John? Has that discussion changed?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of the things we've seen is that probably 3 or 4 years ago, if I'd have done a piece of research, security would be number one. Number one by miles. Everybody say it's not secure, it's outside of my control, I haven't got my experts. Now what we've seen is in the recent survey results that we've just done, actually security's gone down, and the one that's popped to the top is regulatory and compliance, which means that their understanding and their knowledge now is much more mature, and they're actually dealing with GDPR and all of these industry changes that are occurring. But for me, the one element that is really critical to understand is Oracle can afford to have a very deep security team. We've got experts across the globe that only do this as their full-time job. Most customers I deal with, they don't have the appetite for that cost, and they don't really can find those experts. So actually, you need to flip the cloud security issue around the other way and say, actually, the cloud is going to be more secure by default because that company called Oracle is putting its brand, it's putting the customer's brand on visual display. There's nowhere to hide if your cloud gets broken. So we're very proud of our security team, and it's been the heritage from Oracle since day one, back to our very first customer globally ever.
Yeah, and I think actually with the security question, Oracle has always been enterprise grade security. So I think customers see Oracle and know that it's going to be secure. But actually the cloud is maybe shifting the onus onto Oracle to make sure it's secure than some of the customers, because customers' data is now housed by an Oracle infrastructure rather than by their own.
And are you finding customers have that confidence in the security and infrastructure?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think John's right. John's point around regulation is absolutely right. You know, we're seeing more and more questions about GDPR, ISOs, SOC 1 and 2, etc., rather than just tell me about the secure nature of the application and the environment it's in.
Yeah. So if we move more onto the commercial side, Oracle historically again has been perceived as expensive in the market. John, what was your view in that in the cloud world or the cloud infrastructure world?
Well, the great thing about the world we live in with cloud is that you're only as good as your service and you're only as good as your price. Oracle basically changed that whole arena a few weeks ago, Oracle Open World. What we did is we announced new commercial models, so bring your own licenses, which allows those customers to invest in what they've spent in support and bring it into the cloud. We also have this concept called universal credit, which means that you've got the ability to use any of our portfolio with a fixed amount of cloud spend, any products current and future. So that changed the landscape. We're the only vendors that have actually done this commercial model. But also, even if we didn't have that, just the ability to reprice our cloud at Oracle Open World meant that we're cheaper than anybody else. Yeah. So I always say to customers, bring on the fight for price reduction, I'm up for it. Yeah. So, you know, working with yourselves, let's go in there and actually show the customer this is a lot cheaper than what you think, and it's certainly a lot cheaper against the competitors.
Yeah. And Andrew, are you seeing that? Maybe you could give some of your experience in the commercial side, the price, the cost reduction that's been experienced, and maybe some of the capex, opex benefits that's been seen as well.
Yeah, so it's interesting. John talked about the competitiveness of the pricing. One of the areas that we've found straight away customers can find cost savings is in storage costs. So we're taking the cost of storage with an Oracle solution down from thousands down to dollars, single dollars and cents rather than thousands of pounds. In terms of capex and opex, so that's really a customer specific decision. Certainly customers still do have capex budgets that they need to spend. But in the majority of cases, we're seeing the benefits of a regular monthly commitment through the OPEX model, it all going through their P&L account being absolutely very beneficial to customers.
Yeah, and predictable, I guess. It brings predictability to the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So from the perspective of the change itself, Andrew, many customers are still very wary of making that move and moving their infrastructure into the cloud. What's your approach to that, and what do you say to them to reassure them?
So I think, first of all, what we need to do is to make sure we de-risk the project for them, and what a lot of customers need to remember is when we lift and shift applications into the cloud, we don't change the application at all. So there's no underlying difference in the way a user will look at their finance system or their HR system. That will be exactly the same. So then we just need to make sure we de-risk the project of moving from one part to another, and we can do that in a number of ways. We will always see these types of projects transformational in any customer. So we'll make sure the right elements of change management is in part of the project. Secondly, the stages we go through in the project as well. So we talked about POCs earlier. We can also do non-production environments first that de-risks the process. And only when a customer gets that part right will we then really look at the production environment.
Yeah. And John, there's a lot of vendors in the market now. What do you think sets Oracle apart in this field?
Yeah, I mean, I think the great thing about Oracle being around for so long is that we've got a great army of heritage on-premise products, which again, most of the cloud-only companies don't have. We have obviously our private cloud technology. We have also the ability to have public cloud in our data center or public cloud at customer. And actually, those different answers means that we can answer much more of the business wider problem than any other cloud vendor. You know, if you think about it, some of the most dominant cloud vendors only have one answer to given 4 questions a customer could give. So that customer is always going to have a multi-vendor strategy. That means there's inherent risk brought in. What you can have with Oracle is the ability to have your cloud natives running in Oracle or your legacy running in Oracle, run it on-premise or run it in the cloud. And then obviously part of the cloud at customer gives a great opportunity to allow actually our valued partners like yourselves to go and actually deliver solutions in that customer's data center under the managed service program that we have, which is really important. It gives that customer the ability to actually shrink wrap it into a data center of their choice.
Yeah. And Andrew, John mentioned the managed service provider program. What does that mean for Inoapps being a managed service provider for Oracle?
So I think there's 2 things. What does it mean for Inoapps? And it's the recognition from Oracle of the investment that we put into our managed service business. So we have to go through a stringent set of tests and technical requirements to ensure that we're actually accredited with the managed service provider scheme accreditation. So once we've got that, what does it mean for our customers? Well, it means that we actually do have the ability to provide global support. We do have the ability to provide it 24/7, and even better, Oracle have actually accredited a partner to say we've reviewed them and we think they can provide this for you, and they're a safe pair of hands.
Yeah. Andrew, John, thank you very much for your time today. It's been very insightful and informative. So just to summarise, I think what we've heard today is that Oracle are evolving their technology on an ongoing basis. The move to the cloud can be done in a low to no risk type approach, going at a speed and pace that suits any customer in any use case within that customer. Inoapps, as a managed service provider, is well positioned to take you on that journey, whether it be only infrastructure and platform, or infrastructure, platform and software as a service. We're in a position to help you do that. With respect to the approach, it's done in a low risk way with no impact to business user or business process. And the net result is you should realise a minimum of 33% saving at the end of the implementation. If you want to see more information or read more about what can be done, please go to our website that will be on the screen in the next couple of minutes. Thank you.